Well, next tonight, it's been exactly 20 years since Sex and the City aired on our TV screens. At the time, it was seen as revolutionary. 4 women talking openly about their love lives with a lot of NSFW, not safe for work, scenes. For some of us, Carrie, Charlotte, Miranda and Samantha became as real as our own friends from their first appearance on the 6th of June 1998 to the final episode in 2004. Well, I'm joined on the line now by broadcaster and film critic Amani Mohammed and also Elizabeth Hobson from Liberty Bells for Women Who Stand Against Feminism. If I could bring you first in, Amani, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. So iconic has to be the word, doesn't it, for Sex and the City in the end?
Absolutely. I mean, let's think about that era. 1998, there were no programmes that championed women who were career-minded or career-focused, who were single, possibly, and talking very, very openly, as you already mentioned, about relationships, love, and all the other stuff in between. And so it really is iconic because it was the first show of its kind that really focused on female opinions.
Do you think it was significant for men as women?
I think probably guys watched it to find out what women think, if I'm honest. I'm not sure that the impact on men was as strong, or as kind of had the impact in terms of the fandom of the show. But, I wouldn't discount any men watching it because if you did watch it, you'd certainly learn a thing or two about what women want.
And do you think it had an impact on society? Because it certainly was the water cooler moment for a long time.
Yes, I mean, it would be very difficult to, talk about society as a rule, but I think certainly it got women talking. It got women thinking it's okay to talk about taboo subjects. This was really groundbreaking in that respect. They talked about things that really were taboo at that time. So I think in terms of opening people up, making people feel comfortable, even around their friends, because even your best friends, you don't tell them everything necessarily. This made it okay to kind of go, literally crawl under those rocks and find all those hidden secrets.
Marnie, thanks for that. Stay on the line if you would. I'd like to bring in Elizabeth Hobson now from Liberty Bells. Elizabeth, good evening.
Hello, I'm actually working with Justice for Men and Boys, a political party now, just for the record. I'm not with Liberty Bells anymore.
Right, thank you. We shall correct that. Your thoughts then on Sex and the City. Do you think it changed how women thought about other women as much as anything else?
I don't think it's quite that significant, to be honest. Not in 1998. I think the pro-sex wing of feminism had won that intellectual debate against kind of sex-negative feminism in the 1980s with artists like Madonna as their icons. And so Sex and the City really kicked down an open door, I think. And you've got to remember that we had the Spice Girls out in 94 and Basic Instinct in 97. So it was already a popular theme to depict these kind of gorgeous, lusty, idiosyncratic women in the context of the time. And I see it more as a reflection on of society than an impact on society.
Do you think it influenced other shows down the line? I'm thinking of Girls, Lena Dunham's show, for example.
I've read a bit about it, and apparently it did. I've not seen it myself, but I've heard that it has references to Sex and the City in it, so it speaks for itself.
Did you enjoy it as a programme, though? Did you find it refreshing?
It's not entirely my kind of thing, but, it taps into female interests like clothes, sex, relationships in a way that a lot of women found fun and meaningful, aspirational and engaging, and I can understand why it resonated and why it continues to resonate. And although I'm not quite as convinced about its significance as Amani, I do think that it is iconic. When you played the theme tune just before, that's an instant kind of recognition, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And Armani, bringing you back in there, it is true, isn't it? As part of the wider scene, you're thinking the Spice Girls, Madonna, etc. It was really girl power at the time in so many ways.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, I agree. Madonna was incredible and so on. But there are the Spice Girls really were very British at the time. Their global success came a little bit later on. But I think in terms of television and America at that time, if we think about it specifically, HBO were only really famous for their kind of sporting events and very much more male-dominated shows. Sex and the City was never planned as a 6-season, 14-year run. This was planned as literally just as a pilot that would have gone out for one season and probably would have been cancelled. But because people were so overwhelmed and bowled over by this openness, in fact, sometimes these women were quite brassy, the fact that it opened so many other avenues really was the fact that made it popular. Nobody else was doing it at that time, and I do think that it opened the door for shows like Gossip Girl, Girls you've already mentioned with Lena Dunham, and Girlfriends, which was an African American show, but also Desperate Housewives, if you think about it.
And of course,
that had a lot of.
Then they had the films, parts 1 and 2, Sex and the City, and people seem to like those. And that often doesn't happen where you get a TV franchise turning into a movie and people still seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember actually me and my girlfriends made a very specific decision. We were going to go out for drinks and go to Leicester Square for the first showing, basically. There was about 15 of us, and it was absolutely brilliant. The first film was fantastic in 2008. The sequel, 2010, absolutely was panned by the critics. I wholeheartedly agree. It didn't really hit the right note, but the first one really, they should have left it there and taken their money and run. But no, the first movie was fantastic. The second movie was a little bit bad. A lot bad, actually.
Did you see the movies too, Elizabeth?
I've not seen the movies, I'm afraid. No, I can't comment.
But at the time, as you mentioned there was a wider impact being made by women, and that was okay. And the girls from Sex and the City were just part of that revolution at the time, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think what they fit into kind of historically is, I know Camille Paglia, who is a feminist, who Gloria Steinem actually called the anti-feminist, and she talks about the world of women and the world of men, which was a feature of agrarian communities. And I think that now, although the sort of public world has changed and the sexes are very much more integrated in their day-to-day lives, we still inhabit different psychological universes a lot of the time. And this is kind of exemplified by series like Sex in the City and the kind of HBO sports shows, which, Sex in the City excludes most men and the sports shows exclude most women because they're just not interested in the same things.
Except maybe they're becoming more so. Who can say? Thank you both so much for your time tonight. That was film critic Armani Mohammed and Elizabeth Hobson from Justice for Men and Boys. Thank you both very much indeed for your time tonight. It is now 20 to 6, BBC Radio Kent.